In January 2022, this company was valued at $32 billion. Its founder had testified before Congress, appeared alongside Tom Brady and Steph Curry in national ad campaigns, and was floated in the press as a future presidential donor, with enough influence to shape crypto regulation itself. 10 months later, customers trying to withdraw their own money discovered the company didn't have it. $8 billion simply gone. This is the story of FTX and how the same tight, insular relationship between two companies run by the same small group of people is what let customer funds disappear without anyone catching it in time. To understand how FTX collapsed, you first have to understand the two companies at the center of the story and how unusually close they were. In 2017, a former Jane Street trader named Sam Bankman-Fried founded a crypto trading firm called Alameda Research, built around exploiting price differences for Bitcoin across different exchanges. 2 years later, in 2019, Bankman-Fried and colleague Gary Wang launched FTX, a cryptocurrency exchange where ordinary traders and institutions could buy, sell, and trade digital assets. On paper, these were two separate companies, one a trading firm, one an exchange. In practice, they shared a founder, shared senior staff, and shared far more of their finances than either company ever fully disclosed to the outside world. FTX grew astonishingly fast. Bankman-Fried, who cultivated a deliberately unpolished public image, cargo shorts, messy hair, sleeping at his desk, became one of the most recognizable faces in crypto, frequently profiled as a genius trader motivated by effective altruism, a philosophy centered on earning as much money as possible in order to give most of it away. That image, combined with real trading talent, attracted enormous capital. By 2021, FTX had secured investment from some of the most respected venture capital and institutional investors in the world, including Sequoia and SoftBank. The company signed a naming rights deal for the Miami Heat's arena, aired a Super Bowl commercial in 2022 featuring Larry David, and built a roster of celebrity endorsers that included Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, and Steph Curry. By January 2022, FTX was valued at $32 billion. Behind the scenes, Alameda Research, still run by people extremely close to Bankman-Fried, including his on and off partner Caroline Ellison, who became CEO, held a special, largely invisible privilege inside FTX. Unlike ordinary customers, Alameda could reportedly draw on FTX customer deposits directly, essentially giving Alameda access to a pool of money that belonged to FTX's own users. For a long time, nobody outside a very small circle knew the extent of this relationship. FTX marketed itself publicly as a secure, trustworthy place to hold digital assets, a claim that depended entirely on customer funds staying separate from Alameda's trading activity. But the same closeness that let Bankman-Fried run both companies with total personal trust and minimal oversight was quietly allowing Alameda to use customer money to cover its own trading losses. Throughout 2021 and 2022, the crypto market experienced a series of steep downturns, and Alameda Research, like many trading firms, sustained significant losses on leveraged positions. Rather than absorbing those losses on its own balance sheet, reporting suggests Alameda increasingly relied on FTX customer deposits to stay solvent, effectively using money that belonged to ordinary FTX users as collateral to keep its own trades alive. This arrangement depended entirely on nobody looking too closely at Alameda's actual financial position. And for years, almost nobody did, in part because FTX was a private company with limited external audit requirements and a leadership structure built almost entirely around personal trust rather than independent oversight. That changed in early November 2022 when the crypto news outlet CoinDesk published a leaked internal document revealing that a huge share of Alameda's balance sheet consisted not of cash or stable assets, but of FTT, a token created and issued by FTX itself, meaning much of Alameda's apparent wealth was really just FTX's own IOU to itself. Here's the irony underneath everything. The same insular, trust-based relationship between FTX and Alameda that had let Bankman-Fried build both companies with almost no external friction was the exact structure that meant nobody with real authority was positioned to catch Alameda quietly draining customer funds until a single leaked document forced the entire crypto industry to look. The CoinDesk report triggered immediate alarm across the crypto industry. Just days later, Changpeng Zhao, CEO of Binance, FTX's largest competitor and an early investor in the company, announced on social media that Binance would sell its entire holdings of FTT, citing concerns about what the leaked balance sheet revealed. The announcement set off a classic bank run. FTX customers, suddenly worried their deposits weren't actually safe, rushed to withdraw their funds all at once. Within days, FTX couldn't keep up. The company was forced to halt customer withdrawals entirely, confirming what many had feared. The money customers thought was sitting safely in their accounts simply wasn't there. Estimates put the shortfall at roughly $8 billion. Binance briefly announced a potential rescue acquisition of FTX, then withdrew the offer within 24 hours after examining FTX's actual finances. On November 11, 2022, FTX, Alameda Research, and more than 100 affiliated entities filed for bankruptcy. Bankman-Fried resigned as CEO the same day. The fallout was immediate and severe. Regulators in the Bahamas, where FTX was headquartered, and the U.S. Department of Justice both opened investigations. In December 2022, Bankman-Fried was arrested in the Bahamas and extradited to the United States to face criminal fraud charges. Carolyn Ellison and Gary Wang both pleaded guilty and became cooperating witnesses against him. Sam Bankman-Fried's criminal trial took place in late 2023. In November 2023, a jury convicted him on all 7 counts he faced, including wire fraud and conspiracy. In March 2024, he was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. FTX's bankruptcy proceedings continued for years afterward, with court-appointed administrators working to recover and eventually return funds to affected customers. A process that, unusually for a corporate collapse of this scale, recovered a significant portion of customer losses. Though the process took years and much of the original leadership's credibility never recovered. Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang, both cooperating witnesses, received far lighter sentences than Bankman-Fried in recognition of their cooperation with prosecutors. FTX's story isn't really about cryptocurrency. It's about what happens when two companies are run by the same small, tightly bonded circle of people with almost no independent oversight between them, and how the very closeness that lets a founder move fast and inspire total trust is often the same closeness that means nobody is positioned to say no when something goes wrong. It's a pattern that shows up again and again in business history. The tighter the inner circle, the faster the company can grow. And the harder it becomes for anyone inside that circle to catch the mistake before it's catastrophic. And it's a pattern that, just months earlier, had already played out almost identically at another company entirely convinced its own culture made it different, which is a story for another time. If you'd like to understand the hidden forces shaping our global economy, help us by subscribing to our channel.